A video I knew I wanted to make for a long time ever since I started this channel was a top 10. My top 10 is something that not a lot of people can agree with. Actually, I don't think anyone can. And that's probably what stopped me from making this video so far. But I couldn't figure out what videos to make, and the top 10 just seemed logical. So here it is. First of all, this is all my opinion. So if you don't agree, then just know that this is not fact-based. You don't have to agree. It's fine. Also, trigger warning to anyone who likes or has been to Cedar Point. Just by the way, just want to put that out there. And with that, here we are. This is my top 10. Starting off the list at number 10 is the famous King Ka Six Flags Great Adventure in Jackson, New Jersey. To a GP, it may be shocking that this is my 10th favorite coaster, but enthusiasts would understand. I love this ride. It's really intense and it has one of my favorite launches. Also, if you sit in the front, then it's almost glass smooth, but anywhere else in the train just feels shaky. My other complaint is the length. It feels kinda short, but all things considered, King Ka is a great coaster, and I feel it's really good for my number 10 spot. The number 9 spot goes to Superman the Ride at Six Flags New England in Agawam, Massachusetts. I have a huge soft spot for this coaster. I've been going to Six Flags New England since before I turned 6 years old. I remember the days when I looked up at what was at the time Bizarro and thought how little I could wait until I was tall enough to ride. But as far as ride experience, this is really good. Every hill delivers great floater airtime, and every turn delivers strong G-forces. There's something stopping me from putting this higher on the list though, and I think you know what it is. It's the awful U-brick restraints. These wouldn't be that bad if they didn't come down that much during the ride, and if they actually came down on your waist rather than your thighs. But overall, Superman the Ride is a really good coaster, and I'm super grateful to have it at my home park. I first discovered coasters when I was only 5 years old. I learned about the classics, like the Coney Island Cyclone and Jack Rabbit at Kennywood. I learned the stats of famous roller coasters like King Ka and Top Thrill Dragster. I watched POVs. I even watched those GP top 10 lists. In doing this, there was one coaster that stood out to me though. There was one coaster that looked better than all the rest. It may not be the best now, but in my little 5-year-old mind, that number 1 coaster was Millennium Force at Cedar Point. I liked everything about this coaster, and I still do to this day. From the massive hills, the lakeside setting, to even the satisfying shape of that first drop. My entire 6.5 years of loving coasters had led up to me going to Cedar Point for the first time this past June. In the front row, as we crested the top, I looked ahead at the miles of water in front of me and said, "Holy crap, I did it." Which is why my number 8 spot goes to Millennium Force at Cedar Point in Sandusky, Ohio. If I'm being honest, I don't really have any complaints for Millie, and you'll find that as the list goes on. I love that drop in the back row, as it delivers great floater airtime. As far as ride experience, it's really similar to Superman the Ride though. Big floater hills, overbank turns. I prefer Millennium Force though, simply because of how much bigger it is, which also applies to the speed. And of course, the amazing T-bars. You gotta love a long, fast ride, and Millennium Force suits that really well. Also, I could not go without mentioning that station music. It is a classic among coaster enthusiasts, and I will gladly congratulate Cedar Fair for having the best station music on a coaster. The number 7 spot goes to the original Strata coaster, also the better one. It's Top Thrill Dragster at Cedar Point in Sandusky, Ohio. Everything I said for King Ka also applies to Dragster, besides the roughness, of course. Actually, Top Thrill Dragster is incredibly smooth in pretty much every row. I don't know why King Ka is that much rougher, as they're almost the same ride, but I by far prefer Top Thrill Dragster. Another thing that sets Dragster ahead of Ka is the overall presentation. King Ka is great, but I'll be damned if I can get any shots of it other than in the parking lot or station. Dragster, on the other hand, you can look at from almost anywhere in the park. And I can also appreciate the much better theming on Dragster. King Ka is great, and I love the story of the tiger, but, Dragster just looks so cool. My 6th favorite coaster is the first of 3 RMCs on this list. It's Iron Rattler at Six Flags Fiesta Texas in San Antonio. I really love this coaster a lot. It might be the most beautiful coaster in the chain. Sorry, El Toro. With that awesome looking train to the layout climbing up and down the quarry. I also like the restraints on this coaster. To those who don't know, the trains on Iron Rattler weren't made by RMC. They were actually made by Gerstlauer. These different restraints and trains allow for a really different ride experience, as they don't have the traditional RMC shin guards. This makes a much more open feeling, similar to B&M clamshells. A complaint I hear a lot with Iron Rattler, though, is its length. If I'm being completely honest, this coaster does not feel short. It could have been longer, but I don't think the ride feels incomplete, and I was satisfied when we hit that brake run. Now you might know that until 2010, King Ka stood as the tallest and fastest roller coaster in the world. As of 2020, King Ka still holds its 15-year height record, but back in 2010, the speed record was taken from Ka by Formula Rossa at Abu Dhabi, which comes as the number 5 on the list. There's only one thing to say about Rossa, and that's speed. This coaster is just fast all the way through, and I love it. It's the most recent accelerator coaster from Intamin, and it compares really well to the others I've been in, Ka and Dragster. As you depart from the massive Ferrari World building, you sit on the launch track for a few seconds, and the light turns green. You're off. The first hill delivers decent floater, and the following turns are packed with positive Gs. The last few airtime hills have some good flojector, and you hit the brakes. The ride loses a lot of speed throughout the layout, but at no point does it feel slow, as you're still traveling at almost 90 miles per hour even when the ride ends. Also, those trains look really cool. We're past the halfway mark now, and my number 4 is Wicked Cyclone at Six Flags New England in Agawam, Massachusetts. I like to think of this as a mini Steel Vengeance. The airtime on this ride never stops, and it feels like It feels like it lasts for a lot longer than it does. Despite it only standing at 108 feet tall, Wicked Cyclone has one of the longer track lengths of all the RMCs, and you feel that length. It takes almost the exact same path as the original Cyclone, which I think a lot of the old fans appreciate. Back to ride experience, though, this coaster is still amazing on a slow day, and don't even get me started on when it's hauling. I love this coaster because it always delivers. That drop is amazing, and if you're in the back, you get absolutely whipped over. Another highlight would be that double down. If the first down is just a little pop of airtime, but then the next down is sustained ejector all the way until you level out. Also, the theming on Wicked Cyclone is really good, and you could tell Six Flags New England went above and beyond. Like, there's a plane on the side of the station. That's really cool. Starting off my top 3 is El Toro at Six Flags Great Adventure in Jackson, New Jersey. Now, my top 3 are all good coasters, and in my eyes, they're all perfect. Or, almost. There's no perfect coaster, but that's a whole other can of worms. My point is, with all 3 coasters, I don't have a single complaint. back to El Toro. The cable lift hill is really cool. It's fun being on a wooden coaster that pulls you up that fast. The drop is probably my favorite part of El Toro, though. The front row is great, and as you get to see over the super tall, steep descent. The back is great too, though, as you absolutely fly over, since the train is so long. Every single hill delivers strong set, out-of-your-seat sustained ejector. The turnaround has some good positive G's, and if you sit on the right side of the train, you almost want to reach out and touch the ground since the turn is so low. The Rolling Thunder Hill has RMC level ejector, and then you go into some whippy transitions and some turns with good positive G's. Overall, this is easily my favorite turn. My bad. I'm so awful. This is my favorite Woody, and it's my favorite coaster that is somewhat close to me. Now, before I go into the top 10, top 3, I'm such an idiot. Before I go into the top 2, I just want to give a huge trigger warning. Anyone who's been to Cedar Point will strongly dislike this next 2 coasters, and you've been warned. So my number 2, my second favorite roller coaster, is Steel Vengeance at Cedar Point. I couldn't tell you how much I love this coaster. Steel Vengeance is 5,740 feet long, and not an inch of that feels wasted. Heck, even the brake run is fun, watching the other train fly over you after the loud lift hill, because by the way, it is really loud. So loud that you can hear it from the front gate. You crest over the 200-foot drop, which is just crazy. You then go into that little bunny hill, which actually I expected more from. I guess you're just going too fast for airtime right here. I mean, it didn't really feel like it was there. The first airtime hill has insane flojector airtime, and y'all know what's next. It's that Outer Banked Hill. This is absolutely the best sustained airtime I've ever experienced. It feels like the train keeps pulling and pulling in one direction, but the track wants to go another. After 2 great inversions, you come back down to the double up that leads into the mid-course brake run, which, by the way, most of the time does nothing to your speed. You then dive down into the structure, and from here on out, it's just one ejector moment after another, with an inversion here or there. You might remember when I was talking about Wicked Cyclone, I said it was like a mini Steel Vengeance. Everything Wicked Cyclone does is done better on Steel Vengeance. Plus it's taller and faster and even longer. Now for most people it doesn't get better than this. For me it does, just by a little bit though. There's one coaster that comes through, and in my eyes, is better than Steel Vengeance. My number 1 goes to Maverick at Cedar Point. This is just one of those perfect coasters. You start with that quick little LSM lift hill, and then you whip over that 95-degree drop, which has some really good airtime in the back. Actually, this entire ride is so much better in the back. The first turn has lots of positive G's, as does the rest of the ride. I actually grayed out on that first turn. It has some great G's. After some quick transitions, you go into a massive airtime hill. Like, the hill isn't big, but the airtime is. Believe me when I say that that airtime is equal to Wicked Cyclone's Double Down. The horseshoe roll is pretty good. It's really whippy coming out of those rolls, and you feel weightless while going through. Here's what I love about Maverick, though. After you enter that launch track, conveniently placed below the station, you either just accelerate into the next portion of the ride, or you come to a complete stop, and after a second, go flying into the dark building at 70 miles per hour. If you stop, then this launch is absolutely amazing, and while you're not going nearly as fast as some of the other Intamin launches on this list, it's just amazing. You turn, then face the midway. It feels like out of nowhere you're whipped on your side, hugging the water. You bang hard against the drop as the other train soars only feet away from you. A turn and a good float of airtime moment leads into the brake run. The reason I like Maverick so much is because it has everything you want in a coaster. Even if it only has a little bit of certain things, it still has it. Theming, check. Long ride, check. Unique lift hill, check. Launch, check. Airtime, check. Positive G's, big check. Smooth ride, check. You get it. Maverick's just one of those coasters that you can just keep riding over and over again. Well, I hope you're not too triggered. Anyways, this is just my opinion, so I don't feel like getting into any comment section fights. This is CT Coasters, signing off.